Welcome, everybody. So before we officially open the podcast, we're just going to tell you what's going on with this exciting banger of an episode. So you're going to notice there's an interview that happens with a very famous reality TV podcaster. And so stick around for that. But we figured we would just start with our check-in and our study portion, because our new segment on including a study that we think is of interest. We figured we'll do that. We'll save our formal opening for when we open the interview. So my first question today is, what is on your heart and mind, dear Dr. Ray?
I am just jazzed about this interview that we just, I know that's an easy one, but like that was so much fun. And I learned so much from getting to talk to him a little bit. So Chad from Game of Roses, a show that Dr. K is like deep in the wells of, and a show that I have mostly learned about from Dr. K. But I learned so much from just kind of getting in there and talking with the two of you for the last hour. It was so much fun. So that has me riding so high. And yeah, it was just like really lovely to get to talk to someone who thinks so deeply about reality TV in ways both like similar and different from how we think about it. So yeah.
Totally. Very like expansive thinker in general. And so applied to reality TV, it was interesting to sort of go there with him. But we also end up going like very metaphysical with it. So you'll notice it's sort of like a hard pivot from reality TV at one point, but in ways that you can apply to reality TV still. Yeah, you know what's funny is they call it, when you're like a big fan of gore, of Game of Roses, it's called being in the pit. So I'm like deep in the pit with them. It's funny how you said that basically, but like in a slightly different term. But yeah, exactly. I am deep in the pit. Deep in the pit, not the wells. Yeah, you did. You said deep in the wells. That is so similar. Yeah, I'm deep in the pit with them. Yeah, you just intuited it. It's very cool. Yeah, I've been listening to them for a long time and a Patreon member of theirs too. So that was like definitely a fangirl moment of mine, as you will see or hear. It was very exciting. So thank you for going there with me, Dr. Ray, because you definitely, A, like helped me co-regulate, but then B, were very receptive to the fact that I like locked in and like didn't leave a whole lot of space. It was so great. Oh my gosh. Actually, in fact, friends, you will notice that I refer to the fact that we were going to ask him some questions and then do an awards episode with him. But we got so deep into the conversation with him and we were having such a good back and forth with him that we forewent the awards. And Dr. Ray and I were just talking off mic about the fact that we both like clocked the other person was down with like just staying with the conversation instead of doing awards. So yeah, I will say that in there, but I am not, we don't follow through on that. It ends up being just an interview episode for today, and we'll do awards episode next week.
We sure will. We are ready to go with our awards, and it'll be fun to do them. Lots to talk about with Love Island and Bachelor in Paradise. A lot going on those shows.
Yeah, I also talk about Big Brother, The Challenge, and Are You My First, which is about virgins getting to date one another, which is an interesting show on Hulu, or I'm watching it on Hulu. Oh, fabulous. Very cool. I'm excited about that. Yeah, that we're already prepared to do that. And it also is time, because we haven't done an award episode, I think, since April, May, or March, April.
And yes, so it is time. It will be a blast. I've missed it. And I'm curious for this week. I wonder if you're going to have a similar check-in to me, but what is on your heart and mind this week?
Well, I had another check-in because I didn't know if we'd be talking in the past tense about the interview or not, depending on what we had time for. So I will still get my other check-in, but I have to just, absolutely endorse that was a peak life moment for me, because I've been listening to them for so long and watching their videos. So I've been seeing Chad's face on my like Patreon as like a professional in the world, like doing the thing that I would never imagine I get to meet. Like, and then if I were to meet him, I would imagine it'd be at like a live show that used like a meet and greet where you like pay a lot of money and then they're usually exhausted because they don't want to keep meeting people. And it's like a totally different context. So to have him be here on our screens talking to us and be excited, like he really seemed thrilled to be having these conversations. It just was like definitely a highlight of many, many months of mine in a row. It was very cool. So I love that. I also was going to share about this, just like a slightly adjacent content, which is that we just went through doing orientation with our new students who are coming in to be psychologists in training, doctors in training. And one of the incoming students was someone I had interviewed, and she came up to me after one of the first day of orientation and said, first of all, just like quick brag. She was like, I talk about you all the time. And like my mom was saying like, are you excited to go? And I was like, well, I hope she's there. And I was like, oh my God, what? I was like, fangirling about me? Stop. It was so sweet. I just like was like, that's a definite like taking that and putting in my back pocket for a rainy day moment. But then the reason I bring it up is because she also happens to be a big reality TV fan. So I was like, oh, like we could, like it's honestly part of my thinking was like, does she already know? Like, is it because of the podcast? But it turns out it's not, because she doesn't even listen to podcasts about reality TV. So that was a bummer, because I was excited to like get her excited about this. And I do still think we have room for, inviting people that we work with or whatever to come on and interview with us too about certain content areas, even if they're not reality TV fans. So but now that we've broken the seal with Chad, we can really look forward to some other interviews, and ideally eventually with reality TV folks in particular. But again, like content area interviewees will be, in the meantime, I think a really nice avenue. So yeah. That's it, right? I
love it.
Yeah, no, isn't that fun? It was so sweet. I just like, stop it. Like, it's so sweet. And also, like, she was a student I remembered interviewing because I was really excited for her to join the cohort. So I'm really glad she came. She also was like, I got into 3 sites or 3, schools, and I was like pretending to entertain the other 2 when the whole time I knew as soon as I got into Antioch, I had to go because I wanted to work with you. And I just like, she like came because of our conversation. Yeah, that's so sweet.
Oh my God.
I know. Like, my heart is huge.
You got to both fangirl and be fangirled upon today.
Exactly. I'm rapid succession. And I really it's just so sweet. It really is nice to think about that. Like, just in general, one of the folks who came in to guest speak also for us during orientation was talking about just like what it's like working with colleagues that you love, right? Like having this like community that you really feel connected to. And it's so true. Like, you and I talk about that with the podcast all the time, like getting to work with each other and loving each other and getting to debrief with each other before we even podcast and so forth, just like really fills your heart. And so having a workspace that has that same kind of context, even outside of the podcast at our other work life, is such a gift. It makes it so much more sustainable. And we feel it when it's not like that. Like, we feel it when there's something going on that feels disruptive. So I'm looking forward to some of the disruption we've seen in somewhat recent times getting to shift this year. It feels like that's coming around the corner. So
I hope so. Could not agree more.
Oh, delightful. Yeah. So that's what we carried into our heart and minds into the interview, really. But then also coming out of it, we definitely had to like take a break and just like process and get excited about it, because it was definitely a really like rich conversation, but also a little bit like surreal. So it was cool to process that too. We are also going to start a new segment again, which we still have not yet named. To be completely honest, I've been so busy with devising, and administering the orientation that I did not even really think more about the name. But I will do some thinking on that, noodle on it this week, because I do think it'd be good to have a name for it. But for now, just as a reminder, what this segment is we are talking about a study we think is of interest for folks, like a research science study from psych, the world of psych. I'm so excited about Dr. Ray's. So start us off. This sounds great.
Yes. So this is by Carla R. Hamlin. It's titled Reality Television and the Promotion of Problematic Behavior Among Cast Members, a case study content analysis through the lens of feminist and media framing theories. Fascinating. Would recommend a full read of this article, but just to give like a brief overview, this article talks about how over time on the show, The Challenge, actually the instances of problematic behaviors has increased. I don't watch The Challenge, but I know you do, Dr. K. So maybe you can speak to this more. But it seemed like people who engaged in more problematic behaviors are more likely to be recast because they cause the drama on the show. And that sometimes like the problematic, like microaggressions, macroaggressions, instances of sexism, racism, and violence are addressed, and sometimes they're not. So it's like the producers seem to reward this behavior and then sometimes seem to address it on the show and other times don't, which can lead to a lot of mixed messages about how contestants on the show are supposed to act in order to kind of keep going on the show. It makes me think about how Kat was messaging her friend saying that, she was going to stir up a bunch of drama. Maybe that was what she was rewarded for. So she wanted to do it again in order to keep making some money. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting framing of like the mixed messages that producers give, because shows need drama. And sometimes that drama can be really harmful to the people on the show and to the messages about how people should behave that, people watching the show are receiving. So really fascinating study.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And it reminds me also of our conversation about censoring and like cancel culture, and the idea that like in some ways that would be a good thing that they're showing that kind of behavior so that we can learn what that behavior looks like and learn that it gets punished. And so if they're not punishing it, that takes away half the purpose of that being useful. And in fact, it does damage, like you're saying, because it's reifying, or not reifying, it's actually just reinforcing that behavior to be seen as a positive thing for those reality TV stars. And then, then they're more like that in their personal lives, and then just sort of continues to perpetuate it in different ways. Yeah, I have one of my awards that we'll do next week actually hits right on that in the context of the challenge specifically. So that's perfect. And talking about two different folks who have been a part of the challenge for a long, long time and how they act differently now from each other. Like they act differently from how they were, but they also went different ways in terms of growth. So that'll be interesting in exactly the way that you're talking about it. I would say back in the day on the challenge, there were instances that were so messed up and dark that I honestly can't even repeat what happened. And so those things have changed. Like there are not the extremity of it has changed. But I get what you're saying is that the volume of it has increased. But yeah, the extremity of it, the like how far they're willing to go in terms of what they show us has changed in a good way. They have become less revealing of like things that are some of the darkest things of human behavior that I've ever seen on reality TV. And yet, even a recent example of that, there was something that happened, I think, a couple seasons ago that it turned out that all the challenge celebrities were talking about on social media because they just like canceled the person. They didn't tell us what happened. They just like took the person out of the show and didn't tell us anything about why. And so they didn't show us. They did not show us the upsetting stuff. And it turned out it was racism. And it was racism perpetrated by another Black woman against a Black woman. And so they just like swoop, just take that right out. I was actually thinking of Dee when I first started saying that example, though. There was a different person who also had issues and they just took her out of it. In this case, someone was eventually, it was like soon after that left, but the instance that happened of racism laterally among Black women was erased from the show. And so we heard about these things from the castmates in a different context, which is fine. Like, I think that's, and then also that allows us to hear from them why it was problematic rather than from the show, why they think it's problematic. But I think that goes to show that the show has changed their bar for what they think is okay to show us. So that's good. That's a growth thing. And then obviously the negative is that they show us more of the like covert like sexism and racism that like is more pernicious because we don't know it's sexist and racist. We're just eating it, absorbing it.
It's a little more gray than maybe some of the things they showed originally that were so atrocious. It's like, this is clearly atrocious. This is black and white, not to put too fine a point on it. And now they're showing more of these gray ones where maybe someone who exhibits similar behaviors and doesn't see them be punished will be like, oh, I'm cool. I'm doing all right. I don't need to change this. X gets me and we get rewarded because we have a lot of Instagram followers or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. That person keeps getting recast. So they must be good. They must be doing a good job. They must be doing good things. Exactly. Just the same way that Trump not getting punished or not like owning up to what he's saying as a problem means that people are more okay with their own behaviors in that line. So yeah, that's pernicious in a different way. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. The covert and implicit biases that we all have are very self-sustaining. Like the way that our system is built is that they don't get taken down because then we would all have to like change our behavior and that's too threatening to our society. So they definitely become a tough, but it also means like, frankly, reality TV would be a very rich, important place to do that, to dismantle it. So that would be cool. Yeah. Right. Like, can we do that? Let's maybe like, have more critical thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What a good study. Dr. Ray and I were talking about off camera, like wanting to like do some of our own psych stuff in reality TV. Like we have these two worlds kind of as separate worlds, but there could be something to be said about doing research within this world as well. So that's so cool. There is some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Be fun to
it would be super fun. Count me in.
Yeah. Love it. If y'all have suggestions, what kind of studies would you want to see of reality TV shows that you watch or any of it? I think there's so many things we could think of. So it's exciting. Fabulous. So my study is a bit of a pivot. So this is a study by Mark Levine, and it's about in-group, out-group behavior. So this relates to a lot of reality TV stuff, and it also relates a little bit to something that came up with Chad, which y'all will hear, related to sports. So Mark Levine did this creative experiment where he had people. So this is based in the UK. There were people who were Manchester United fans. These are soccer teams for anyone who doesn't know. Manchester United fans and then Liverpool fans, two different soccer teams, very like nemesis-y, right? Like I forget what those are called when it's like they're what is that called? When it's like this is their, it's not nemesis, like it's their arch rival. But yeah, maybe it's just their rival then. Yeah, okay. So they're like rival teams. And so what the way he set this up was that people would like Manchester United fans would be walking down the street and they would see an actor that they think is a real person fall and grab their ankle and call out in pain. And that person would be wearing a Liverpool shirt. So the Manchester United fans, would they stop and help this stranger knowing that they're a Liverpool fan? So actually only about 30% stopped when this happened naturally. If that person was wearing a Manchester United jersey, 97% stopped to help. So like talk about in-group, out-group. Like if you have a shared social identity with somebody, you're just like infinitely more likely to help them, you know, not literally infinitely, but you're much more likely to stop and help. And so like that is a huge thing to think about in terms of like what we're activating in our thinking as far as like if we share an identity or share some sort of personality trait or share anything, because we do with everyone. We have universal traits that are human that we can relate to people on regardless of the groups that they differ from us in. And so like how do we activate across race, for example, in particular, I'm thinking, how do we activate the universalism enough and regularly enough that people will be more likely to help people from a different race or to see it as important to combat racism, for example. So I think that shared identity piece is like really, really key. And then the interesting thing is that, so this is the other part of this key. The interesting thing is that then they did the same experiment with the Manchester United fans going by a Liverpool fan who had fallen. And this time they asked the Manchester United fans about their love for soccer first and said like, tell me about like how you love soccer, da, 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 da. And so then if they did that, 70% stopped and helped the Liverpool fan. So because they were thinking about their shared identity of both loving soccer, it went more than double what they would have helped otherwise. So I think, right, obviously, like that says so much again about like if we can inspire and make it more salient that you have a shared identity with somebody else, that then we can maybe move the needle, right? Like, so thinking about in terms of conservative and liberal folks that like, right, that identity is so polarizing right now. And so like, how do we pull for the universalism that can bring us together more so that we want to help each other? An example of that is the Epstein files, right? Like that's something that seems to be pulling us together a little bit, that like everyone can agree that that needs to come out, like, so that then we have more of an ability to see the other as less of a target. So, and then it also kind of relates to us on this podcast too, because we feel an affinity with you all. We don't even know what you look like. We have no anything about you. And I was remembering that just last episode, I was saying like, we love you. We haven't even seen you, but we love you. And it's true. Like we feel an affinity to you, not just because you're supporting us by listening. That's true too. But also because we have this shared identity that makes us feel like an in-group with y'all. If you're listening, you must also, I'm assuming, like reality TV. So, yeah. Well, in-group, out-group science for us.
I love it. Oh, what a fun day it's been doing this. And yeah, I think it's so important to talk about in-group, out-group, particularly in the current climate. And that's actually something that comes up in our interview with Chad and him talking about one of his podcasts and how you can connect with people kind of beyond that. So I love kind of bringing it full circle in a way.
Yeah. When he brought that up, I was like, just you wait. Like, oh my God, literally on the target with what I was going to talk about today. And like also the sport part, like the fact that his dad, with whom he hopes to connect outside of politics, was an athlete, right? Like just thinking about that part of it really aligned nicely with what Chad's aiming to do with that podcast. So definitely check it out, y'all. Just so you all know, because we did not end up actually saying the name of it. The podcast that he does with his parents that we end up referring to in the thing is called The Necessary Conversation. So check that out. Support. And then obviously the other is The Game of Roses. Also tell your friends about us, of course, and support us. We actually need a little bit, he has plenty of support, frankly. But no, it's still, I think it was great of him to show up at our humble podcast door to help talk about some of these topics with us. So with that in mind, listen to our interview. Enjoy. we hope you'll enjoy it as much as we did. You can tell I'm like very excited. So enjoy our enjoyment at minimum. But also, if you know who he is, I think you'll enjoy hearing some of the things we talked about that don't come up on his podcast. So thanks, y'all.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. K. Feel free to check in, take a seat wherever you like. This is the big banger I've been talking about, just like huge news that we have, which is that here with us today is Chad from Game of Roses. So Hi. If you are at all like familiar, I don't know, with any reality TV podcasting, you have definitely heard of Game of Roses, especially in Bachelor Nation reality TV. But they have now branched out to many more things. He and Lizzie Pace are talking about mostly Bachelor Nation things with a lot of things on the Patreon from other shows. And so therefore, again, like sort of setting the pace for everybody else in terms of reality TV podcasting. They wrote the book. They wrote the book on Bachelor Nation that Bachelor contestants have read. Yeah. I also, welcome. Let me start there. Welcome, Chad. Thank you,
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And yeah, we did write that book, How to Win The Bachelor. So, God, it's got to be, 3 or 4 years ago at this point it came out?
Yeah, wow. That is wild. And then you're writing the Bachelor version, right?
No, we are not.
You're not? Okay.
No. I mean, I think it's just a matter of like, your publisher either says, please write the second book of this series or not. They have not said that. Yeah. And that's
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, right. So check that book out. The other thing is, one of the things we're going to talk about is your other podcast that I wanted to hear a little bit about in terms of politics with your parents. So we'll also talk a little bit about that. But first, we just want to jump in with like a couple easier questions that we're going to, those listening. We're going to start with questions for Chad, and then we're going to go into the awards for reality TV that we've watched over basically the summer, like the last couple months, because we haven't done awards since May. So any reality TV we've watched. So first, and the very first question that I have for you. So first of all, this was something I was super excited about, which was that in the finale of Bachelor in Paradise, Alex saying, I love you, level 1 was like massive. As it happened, I like screamed and stopped my husband and I was like, that's a huge deal. Like that's Game of Roses lingo. And she was using it in the like level 1, meaning they're at the bottom of it and going up or whatever. Whereas like your lingo is that saying I love you means you're level 4. So like she would have already been. Yeah.
My personal take on that is this. I think our creation of love levels, which really is just a descriptive way to talk about going from I like you to I'm starting to fall in love with you to I'm falling to I am in love with you. Those are the 4 love levels. I think they are aware of us calling that progression throughout the game the love levels. I don't think they've gone deep enough to actually know the minuscule details of how we mean it and what the levels actually are. I think they have just kind of absorbed the phrase love levels and they're using it as they see fit. I think anybody going on reality television, with some exception, and not in the love shows. I think it's in the game shows. It's in Survivor and Big Brother, where the exception is like some of those players are going into those games to like win those games and to like, they don't care about the fame that may come from it. They are there to prove that they can play that game better than anybody. And that's it. Love of the game. The dating shows are all lies. None of those shows, no one goes on them to find love. Everyone goes on them to get famous. Some people do wind up falling in love. It does happen, but that's not the primary reason anybody goes on those shows. And at this point, just from my own experience of coaching people to go into those games and play them, literally manipulate producers, manipulate the other players, and achieve extremely high levels of success doing that. I mean, it's empirical proof. That is a game. It can be played. I'm training people to do it. And so, anybody who thinks these shows are real in the respect of everybody's there for the right reasons, just to find love, and all the Instagram followers and TikTok followers and stuff, that's just incidental. Anyone who still believes that is like watching pro wrestling and thinking that's real. It's the same thing at this point. I don't know where the general reality TV audience is on their journey to finally understanding what this actually is. I think we're probably maybe slightly more people believe it's real than don't at this point still. But I think that's shifting very rapidly.
I agree.
Well, even seeing like Sean bringing up that Kat was messaging an ex-boyfriend saying that, she was going to stir up drama, as if that was so surprising. It's like, they're all there for a reason that is not finding love. Yeah. So it felt kind of silly to me, but I know it's under the guise of finding love.
But even him bringing that up is a play within the game. What he's trying to do there is invalidate her for the right reasons strategy by saying, no, she's actually for the wrong reasons. Here's all the reasons why. She's brought in a computer. That's against the rules of the game. I have receipts of her texting this ex-boyfriend while she's supposedly here to try to find love. Strangely, though, that play, and there was a play earlier this season, too, by Brian when he tried to out Jeremy to Bailey as having said he would date Susie if she was here. You're kind of his second choice. Those are traditionally two for the right reasons attacks that work in every other season of Bachelor in Paradise. For whatever reason in this season, they just get kind of like whatever. Nothing happens as a result. I don't know. I mean, I could go on forever, obviously, about the state of the Bachelor franchise. But I think those two plays for me and how they were received or kind of ignored really was like, whoa, we're in a different Bachelor universe now where like for the right reasons just doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's proof that you're right, that people are moving towards not seeing it as real. Like they're sort of like, right, like, of course she's here for like stirring up drama. Like it doesn't matter. Like they're ready to shake it off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something you wish Game of Rosen's fans knew about you? Like, what do you wish your fans knew about you that they don't?
I have no idea. I don't think so. I think they know pretty much everything about me at this point. What do I wish they knew about me? That I've become in the past couple of years a very good cat dad. I can divulge.
We're cat moms. Yeah. We love that.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
To you as well. That's so cute.
Are you comfortable
what kind
giving
of
the names of your cat?
Of course. He has an Instagram account. His name is Mike Skabulian. You can find him at that Instagram handle, I believe. It's my girlfriend who makes most of the posts. I take the pictures and then she posts them. That's our partnership.
I love that. It's so hard not to take pictures. It's addicting. Like every time they're doing something cute, I'm like, I have to take a picture of this. And then I end up with like 50 each time it's a cute thing. Yeah.
Yeah. For a time in my life from about 2014 to maybe 2019, I was compulsively taking pictures of these squirrels that would come to my windows in my apartment. And I became very good at it. I touted myself as the world's greatest squirrel photographer. But it became this strange relationship where one of the squirrels, who I named Squirrelius, would come into my house and sit on the couch with me and watch TV and eat peanuts, and I would pet her like a cat. She became very familiar with me. And at a certain point, one night, I woke up in my bed. I used to have these like flower boxes kind of in the windows outside my bedroom window. And I heard this squeaking, and I woke up and looked out, and there's Squirrelius in a nest. This is like midnight, having just given birth to a litter of squirrel babies. And I was like, what the fuck? But she was so familiar with me. She just let me like chill with her. And in the morning, I would put her a little dish of water there and some nuts and stuff. And she would eventually like go out into the trees to stretch her legs and leave me watching over her newborn babies. And I would take pictures and videos and whatever. I became like a compulsive animal photographer through that experience. And now I've translated that skill set to my cat.
Oh my gosh, you're literally a squirrel dad. That's like a real squirrel dad. That's like literally you are the partner of the mom.
Legit.
That is incredible.
I have pictures of me like holding the baby's hands and shit.
My God, that is leveling up, I would say. Maybe
it was wild.
Maybe there's
a wild
squirrel
time.
Game of Roses book, but that is super cool. Oh, that's really. I remember one time I was in Boston Common and I saw a man who was like really connected to the squirrels. And they were kind of crawling all up and down him. And I was super impressed. I was like, how does one get that close to squirrels? And now I'm learning something about how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, like any other animal, too, they're kind of individualistic. So, each one has their own little personality. And I think there are some squirrels that are more predisposed to forming bonds with, outside their species than others are. A lot of them are just like afraid and they won't come near you. But every once in a while you get one who's a little bit curious. There's one now who's probably Squirrelius's great grandson or something who comes to our living room window and just stares at our cat, and they get nose to nose on either side of the pane of glass. And I feel like that squirrel wants to come in and be part of the family.
Oh,
Totally. Got intergenerational love. Like not intergenerational trauma, but intergenerational love from Squirrelius.
Exactly.
Wants to come in. Trust it.
Yeah.
incredible. So I think probably 90% of your waking life you work. You seem to work incredibly hard. Given that all you have a hand in, from music to live episodes to pre-recorded episodes, and watching reality TV, writing another book,
Maybe not now.
do you work that much of your week because there's such an overlap of your interest in your work, or is it just like you've just got a lot going on? Like, I guess, like, how do you sustain this passion of yours? And like, does it feel like work to you? That's a lot of questions.
Yeah. I mean, I do work a lot. I don't know. I just wake up and there's weird shit in my head and I have to get it out, or there's more of it the next day. I don't know how to explain it really. I think I knew at some certain age that like creating things is what I was compelled to do. And I don't really feel like I'm in charge of that necessarily. It's like there are things that will come out and I'm just here to like do them. So I just wake up and whatever I'm compelled to do that day, I do. And sometimes it's a book, sometimes it's an album, sometimes it's a podcast, whatever the case may be.
I love that. It's not a passion, it's a calling.
I don't even know. I don't know. Call it whatever you want, I suppose. To me, it's just kind of like how my brain works, I guess.
Yeah. Which actually translates nicely to one of my questions. I'm skipping over one in the meantime because it translates to one of the questions I had for you. But just first, I want to say, like literally, it's like you're being called to do the thing. Like you can't even help it. Like your body's like, let's get this out and like get this onto paper or into video form. And I have a question about your music, but I first wanted to just say, like, I recognized that on a recent podcast, you started saying to Lizzie that you have like a touch of autism, or like you're like on the spectrum, ASD, have autism spectrum disorder. And you said, like, I don't think of that as like I forget what you guys were talking about, like as a negative thing. You basically said it's a superpower. And I was so jazzed. You started saying that and I was like, yes, tell us more, like give us that. And you actually ended up sort of like getting cut off, or you cut, whatever, didn't finish your sentence. So I was wanting to hear more about like why you think that. I think that too, like there's something really adaptive about that. Like there's something, right? Like there's areas in which it might be hard, but I also think there's areas in which it's like a superpower. I totally agree. So I was wondering why you feel that way, or if you could say more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's the case. I have not been formally diagnosed, but I had a girlfriend, maybe this got to be like 10 years ago, who was like, hey, just to let you know, you're autistic. And I was like, what? That can't be. But then I started really researching it, read a lot of books, watched a lot of YouTube videos about adults with autism and stuff. And I was just like, oh, this makes my entire life make sense. And I'm pretty certain that it's accurate. I watched one video specifically that was a woman talking about how she kind of organizes thoughts. And a lot of it, I was like, okay, this is exactly how I'm doing this. It's basically for me, like the reason I think it's a kind of superpower or whatever, I guess like prior to my then girlfriend telling me this, I thought everybody just kind of like, this is what their brains do. This is how we're all operating. But then I would get like frustrated when people didn't see like the inefficiency in systems they had set up, or how they were navigating a problem or whatever, and just be like, but how can you not see? This is the way to do it. So there was like black and white thinking, but also I think this real like need to make every workflow as efficient as possible and to really see things in systems. Like that is just how my brain does everything. It sees systems, it creates systems, and finding like exploits within systems to either make them more or less efficient or whatever the case may be is just kind of how I've always operated. And I think kind of formally recognizing that it's like, oh, my brain works like a little different, or not like everybody's brain doesn't work like this. And seeing that like there's detrimental aspects of that for sure. Like I'm saying, like you just get fucking locked in, and it's like nobody is making me deviate from this idea that I know is great. And that idea may be fucking horrible. It may ruin my life. It doesn't matter. I'm doing it. That's not great. But it also allows you, or at least for me, the way my kind of brain works is like, It allows you the capacity to hold a lot of information at once, see how it all interrelates, even if it doesn't seem like it does. You can sometimes see connections that some people will say are crazy, but you're like, well, just wait. And then something happens and you're like, see? But yeah, I mean, for me, it really is about the organizational structure of data as I'm kind of like either ingesting it or creating it, exporting it, whatever. I feel like I have a pretty high capacity to do that. And that question you asked me earlier about making all these different kinds of things, that's the only way I can do that. Each one of those different kind of artistic disciplines has its own little system in my head, and they all kind of come together in a meta system, if you will, as well. So they're all like interrelated in one way or another. I can make a song that might then have some influence on a book I'm writing, that might then have some influence on a topic that I want to have in a podcast or whatever. It's about like compartmentalizing things, but also seeing that those compartments are always part of a bigger whole. And then even that whole is part of some bigger whole, which is kind of what I'm most interested in at this point in life.
Yes. Oh, that makes so much sense. Like continuing up the systems, like up and how they, what they're birthed from, what are the parent systems, and like we as psychologists get like trained in seeing systems. Like that's a thing we have to be trained in often. And so like I totally agree that that's an adaptive way of seeing things. Like it's really important to see things as a part of a bigger picture. And it also reminds me of like one of the things that I've heard folks with autism talk about having, or like a trait that they have talked about, is that like the ability to speak to power and not see it as speaking to power. So like being able to talk to somebody who like conceivably should have power over you, so you normally would talk a certain way, and not doing that, because it actually just feels like, you know. And so this has made me think of that, because if they're just part of the system, right, they're part of a lateral system and they're not necessarily in a power position to you.
That's interesting. I'd never heard that, but again, just like I said, now a lot of things in my life are making sense. you know?
Totally.
All the detentions I got in for getting in arguments with my teachers, but no, totally. I view existence itself as like a giant system, and whatever this system is, I don't necessarily even think it's a real one. It may be synthetic or whatever, but it has rules. It has certain data points that give it structure. And if you can understand those and how they interrelate, and you can potentially manipulate them, it can affect your experience in whatever this system is. So that to me is like a fun kind of like game to play, I guess you could put it.
Yeah, if you start to like poke at it, you see the like ripple effects, then it just like reifies what you're talking about. You're like, I knew it. This shit's a fucking Matrix. Like, I knew it.
Or when the game starts playing back with you is really when it gets fun. When you're like, oh shit, okay, this thing is, all of it is like the same thing. And if you can twist and turn this knob here or do that there, it's going to fucking come back at you. That fascinates me.
Yeah, and it almost like...
Well, thank you so much again for having me, and have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh my God.
That's reality test.
So that's a huge deal.
Wow, what a lovely man. I am so glad that you reached out to him and that we had the opportunity to talk to him. That was super cool.
Yes, what a gift of him to give us the time to do that. Like you were saying also in the interview, as y'all heard, that he just has like, he's got to be working 90% of his day. Like, so the fact he was able to shave off some time to meet with us and talk to us, our humble podcast, was so kind. And he was very, generous with his openness, and kind man.
Yeah. Thanks, Chad. We learned a lot.
Yeah. What an interesting, I love the metaphysical stuff. It's fabulous. So what a delight. Reality TV, politics, metaphysical world, lots of juicy content. So if you want to see some highlights so you can show other people so that they want to come watch the episode, you can find those on our social media. And in fact, if you want to see the whole video, because you only heard the whole interview and saw part of the video for free, you can head on over to our patreon.com/realitytest, capital R, capital T. You can also go to Patreon and put in the search bar at reality tests, make sure to include the @ symbol, and it'll pop right up. So become a member for $5 a month, or you can individually buy the interview for like $7.50 with the Apple fee. It's $5, but $7.50 with the Apple fee. Or you can just buy that individual interview to see the full video. It's a delight. He's a delight throughout, and it's helpful to see our facial reactions, I think, during the intense type of content that we were talking about. So that'd be great, and we'd love to see you on Patreon. We'll give you a shout out, in fact, if you join us. Then,
if you want one. If you're too shy, that's cool.
Tell us you don't want one.
We won't give you. Yeah.
we'll just be like, there's somebody. And then the other thing too is that we are going to give out some free year-long memberships. So maybe you'll, in fact, not even have to pay $5 a month for a year. Check us out. Then you'll also find the clips I was referring to of us, like you, so you can spread the word and have people come see our clips of Chad talking with us. And then hopefully they'll join our Patreon too by going to our Instagrams at Dr. K-Pods and at Dr. Ray Pods. And then you can also go to our TikTok at drdr.realitv, REALITV. You can go to our YouTube and our Facebook, both at Reality Test Pod, at symbol Reality Test Pod, one word is your YouTube. Facebook page is with spaces. And last but not least, you can email us. Maybe you want to tell us something, give us feedback. We'd love to hear it. Tell us something you found interesting or something you wish we talked about. And you would do that by emailing us at realitycheckpodding, PODDING, after realitycheck, at gmail.com.
Yes. And do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe and tell all your friends. And yeah, $5 a month, it's not going to kill you. And it would make a big difference to us who are doing this thing that we love so much. So we thank you for listening, and we appreciate whatever support you are able to give to us.
Yeah, we have a humble first goal, which is like, we're not even trying to pay ourselves. We just want to be able to pay our sweet, sweet sound via Dr. Ray's partner so that we can not be using their time just like totally willy-nilly. So I think also Connor's very generous with his time, but still it'd be nice to pay him. So help us out in helping out sound crew so that our delightful sound can remain solid. And eventually, maybe one day, we'll also get paid and we can give up working for a nonprofit where we already really are donating our time. Please, friends, come on back. Next week, we're doing our awards episode. Would love to see you here. And we'll see you next session. Bye.